Let me fix the lighting. Lighting is a little, make me look dead. So I just got back from the movie theater to watch the newest kaiju movie, Godzilla -1. This is directed by Takashi Yamasaki. I'm gonna be butchering some Japanese names, okay? So just bear with me. Straight up coming from the theater after seeing the movie, I mean, what an awesome movie. It was a great, fantastic adventure type of movie. It's been a while, I feel at least, since we've been able to like really sit down and watch a good like adventure movie. This is what it felt like, but it was a little bit more than that. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. Nothing but good things to say. This movie is great. Please, if you can see it in the theater, please do. You're not gonna regret it. It's amazing. Here we go. Shikishima. Yeah, basically he was recruited to the military during World War II as a kamikaze fighter pilot. For those of you who don't know, kamikazes would basically be pilots that would fly their planes into ships in order to try and sink them. Of course, this would be at the cost of their lives, but it was considered a great honor by the Japanese army. He kind of got a little bit of, well, he was basically scared. He didn't want to end his life. So he took a detour and landed in Odo Island, where people were there, mechanics that basically fix fighter jets. They kind of soon realized that he was there, and it was like, he says that he had some airplane problems, but they kind of figured out that he was actually kind of fleeing or kind of disobeying the direct orders from the military. Great character. I'm gonna add the picture of him here. He was great, and he shows up later in the movie, and just overall, I will say, just great acting overall. Everyone put their very best in this movie, and I have no real critiques of any of the acting of any of the actors. But lo and behold, at nighttime, they get attacked by the one and only Godzilla. Now, this is a very much smaller Godzilla. He's not full-blown, like, willing to tear down buildings kind of Godzilla. He's kind of small. And unfortunately, Shikishima wasn't able to fire a weapon. Might have killed him, might not have killed him, we don't know. The movie kind of leaves that a little bit ambiguous for the audience to kind of figure it out, but we don't really know. But in the end, because he refused to fire a weapon that was located in his plane, many of the mechanics end up dying, with only the top engineering mechanical officer surviving. This officer goes on to blame him, saying that because he refused to take action, all of his men are dead. Therefore, kind of building that tension between the two characters. This movie takes place in like 1945 to like 1947, if I believe correctly. It's around there, so it stays around that area. So kind of new, not new, but old Godzilla, the way it was intended to be kind of played. Again, I'm not too sure because it's been a while since I've watched any of the Godzilla movies. He returns home and he finds, and he bumps into this girl, Noriko, who has a child, and they basically kind of bond together over the fact that they're now trying to survive in a Japan that's post-World War II. And that's one thing I really love about this movie. I don't want to go into the entire storyline because there's so much to talk about in this movie. There really is. Overall, what I really feel this movie triumphs is in the story, in the plot. The way the characters are honestly surviving during a time that it was just mayhem. It's war. War, unfortunately, hurts civilians and soldiers alike, and that is something that this movie tackles really well, in my opinion. As a veteran myself, with family members that are currently serving, I really appreciate the respect that this movie shows for actual veterans of a war. Many of the veterans that are shown here are shown to have a lot of scars, a lot of trouble kind of moving past the war. And there's great lines in this movie where one of the characters is like, I'm still fighting a war even to this day. And that's very relatable, unfortunately, to many veterans that I myself worked with that subject really well. And they not only focused on soldiers, they also focus on civilians, because civilians are also suffering through war, seeing their entire towns just obliterated, families completely destroyed, and in some cases complete families just wiped out of existence. Like, there are moments in time where the movie kind of hints at you, like, if they had these kamikaze soldiers and it was so honorable, why didn't they put like ejection seats on the planes and those, so that their lives would be spared? But that's the thing about this movie, that it plays really well. It kind of shows how government is willing to sacrifice its civilians' lives, and sometimes when they're actually put on the spot to do something to help its people, they kind of take the back burner and say, oh, we can't really do much. So it's up to the people to really fight Godzilla, which is actually, it's what happens in this movie. Godzilla attacks a major city, many people die, the government refuses to do anything to really help, so it's up to private citizens, veterans, to help defeat Godzilla. It happens in this movie, and I really appreciate it. I really felt like all the characters in this movie stood out, honestly. There were so many moments where just people are just talking and debating what is going on, what the next step should be. It's just great overall storytelling. It never felt like they were just expedition dumping stuff on me. It felt more like legitimate people having real conversation in a time where everything is just honestly a mess, because it's just the result of war, people recovering from war and trying to rebuild their lives, and here they go again with this time a monster destroying their lives. The music was really fun. I immediately recognized that the minute that they played it, the dun 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 dun, I don't know how else to say it, but immediately you recognize that music. It's from the original Godzilla. It was really well done. So let's go on and head on to the main event, which is Godzilla. He looks cool in this movie. The design is honestly amazing. I really appreciate it. He looks like an actual kaiju, like an actual monster. Not like was it 2002 Godzilla that looked more like a lizard than anything else, and then Shin Godzilla, which I haven't seen. I kind of want to see it now. But I did see like what the Godzilla and Shin Godzilla looks like. It looks more like a statue. It looks cool, don't get me wrong. It looks really cool. It just looks like a statue. It's just walking by with this ants like this, and I'm like, all right. Actually felt like a real monster the entire time in the water, when it's destroying the city. Overall, just really good. Which, by the way, brings me to the CGI. The CGI is almost impeccable. There's like one or two scenes with like a bunch of like floating buoys or whatever it was, inflatables, that was like, oh, clearly CGI, but everything else looked immaculate. When Godzilla's going through the ocean, he just looks so cool, destroying the city, just like the editing, the sound, you just felt the power that Godzilla had when he was rampaging through the city, and when he unleashed the heat ray that he had. That was the coolest and scariest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was so much fun. The movie looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. Cinematography was fantastic too. They build these sets and it looked amazing, and you can just tell that there was a lot of love and care put in this movie, and it shows through and through. It shows. When the story needed to be emotional, it was very emotional. I don't want to go into too many details of it, but the main mechanical engineer and the main character, Shikishima, they clearly are butting heads for obvious reasons. One of them blames the other for the death of all his friends, his comrades. So you get that when he's on screen. You get the resentment, but also the understanding that in wartime, no one really wins. And it's a horrible thing that the people that are left over are left to honestly deal with it. And no real help was provided on it. Thankfully nowadays, people are provided with more help. We kind of have a more understanding of the real sacrifice that these people make. And this movie really shows the impact that soldiers go through in such brutality, the brutality of war. No one recovers well from that. And this movie does a great job at respecting it and showing their side and how they deal with it. As well as the civilians. They're the main character, Shikishima, goes back to town She, basically, I think there were neighbors, and she lost her entire family and her children during the air raids. And you can see the emotional toll it takes, and she's kind of looking for something to kind of help deal with it on a daily basis, and it's very tragic. And again, this movie just does a great job with it. I don't know what else to say. The ending, not that it's bad, it's just is the typical ending. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. The typical ending, like, oh no, he's not really dead, dun 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 dun, you know. But it's Godzilla. That's like asking to kill Freddy Krueger and Jason. Like, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. So I get it. Not a real hatred of the movie, just a slight complaint. But I'm just pulling at straws here because this movie was honestly great. Just overall a great time. When I went there, the movie was actually packed, and I went at a really weird time during the week, at a really weird day of the week, and it was still packed, which is great. I want this movie to get attention. I want this movie to kind of show Hollywood that, yes, give us more of this. This was great, please. This honestly made my day. It was a great movie. Highly recommend. Please, if you get a chance to see it, please do see it. It's a brutal movie when it has to be, but it's still a fun adventure movie of trying to defeat this monstrous kaiju and just the people coming together, throwing government aside and being like, you know what, we're getting stuff done, and that's how it is. Overall, just honestly, I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. It was just great. A great time, great acting, great music, great CGI, great story, just amazing. We need more of this. Hollywood, please give us more of this, not more of the Marvels. We don't need no more of that. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.